Hey, I hope you're having a great week so far. Today I wanted to talk about the 5 questions to ask yourself before you discuss your dermatillomania with others. Now, these are the kind of questions I wish somebody asked me before I went in on it. I've talked to a lot of people about my dermatillomania, especially the past 3 years, as I've been a bit more open about my journey, which has totaled about 15 years of my life with compulsive skin picking disorder. And these are the kind of questions that I think really would benefit another person if they're plucking the courage to talk about their skin picking disorder to a loved one. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. If you do find this interesting and useful to you, please hit that like button to let me know. After listening to these 5 questions, let me know in the comments if you have had the conversation with the loved one. How did that go? Was it better than what you thought it would be? Was it worse? Was there some awkwardness or tension? What were your giveaways after discussing your dermatillomania with a loved one? I'd love to know more, so please feel free to share in the comment section below. So the first thing is, what is your objective? Like, what is your end goal? Are you wanting to feel better, like getting it off your chest and just knowing that there's someone else in this world who understands what you're going through and has heard you? You wanted to vent, you just wanted to let it all out on someone that you love, knowing that they can just be that shoulder to cry on or just simply listen, or even offer advice if that's what you're wanting. What is the end goal? Can you envision what you would like for there to be after it? Is it help? Are you seeking help? Would you like to perhaps use that conversation to then go towards an approach, say speaking to your doctor or a psychologist or a counsellor? What is it that you're wanting? Do take the time to look into this as well, because when I first started on that journey, I remember going into a counsellor and getting to know her, going every week and speaking, and I felt like what I needed was talking therapy, where in fact, the more I was talking, the more kind of frustrated I felt, because I feel like I just wanted her to stop and just tell me what was going on, what I needed to do. And I felt a bit disappointed that I wasn't getting that every week, when in fact what I had done was I was taking the time to speak to a counsellor, and they're not trained to tell me everything that I need to know. What I wanted was really a psychologist. So take the time to figure out what the end goal is for you before you speak to anyone about your dermatillomania. It will help you so much, and it will allow you to steer the conversation in the direction you want it to go. Next, are you wanting to keep it brief, or you want to go into detail about it? Always do your research and have it handy, have the information handy, whether it's, I don't know, in an email you want to send to them, or just on your phone when you're sitting with them, or you want to send it to them so that they can read some more information on dermatillomania after the conversation. It's just good for you to know so that you can prepare yourself. Of course you might get asked questions, but you need to kind of preempt those questions so that you can have a good understanding of what you're going to say in response to them, because that's the thing that really puts us off having the conversation in the first place. Is like, we're scared about what we're going to be asked and if we're going to be caught off guard, and it makes us flustered just thinking about it. So take the time to write, even in like your notes on your phone, any possible question that you may get asked, and really think about how you're willing to explain it, if you are willing to explain it. You know, it's the first time you're talking about it potentially, so the ball is most definitely in your court. If you don't want to go into detail, that is totally fine. It's about you and what you want to get out of the conversation. It's not about enlightening someone 100%. If you're not feeling confident or comfortable to do that, they will understand, and I'm sure if they are as supportive and caring, they will go at your pace and they will let you take the lead in the conversation. Number 3 is who you're choosing to tell. So, you know, is it a family member? Is it a loved one? Is it a work colleague? Is it a medical professional? Is it a teacher? Who are you choosing to confide in? Because assuming it is a really big thing in your life, and it definitely was for me. I found it really difficult to talk about my dermatillomania, and the first couple of people that I told was a good friend, and I told my boyfriend at the time. Now, my good friend met my explanation of dermatillomania with so much love and support and understanding, not first-hand understanding, but understanding it from a sympathetic view. And that was really encouraging and supportive. It made me feel really safe in the knowledge. But then when I told my boyfriend not long after, I was then met with, well, like a shrug off attitude, like it's just a habit, get over it kind of thing. And that really did make me go back in my shell and think twice about who I was going to talk to next in case I was going to be met with that again. So take the time to think about who you're wanting to talk about your dermatillomania about. Do you feel safe with them? Do you feel comfortable? Will they support you, even if it is just hearing you out and not actually saying or doing anything? Are you feeling pressured to tell this person? Is it because they're putting you in a very compromising situation where you need to explain the dermatillomania to them just so that they leave you alone and they back off? Obviously, the ball is completely in your court, and it's up to you if you want to tell someone about your dermatillomania, but you deserve to have that conversation feeling comfortable, or as comfortable as you can. And the last thing you want is pressure. Definitely something to think about. Number 4, and this is an interesting one because I am an empath, and this is something that I often do without even realizing that I'm doing it, and it's one of those things I'm having to actively work on. Will this person bring sympathy or empathy? Now, these are very different. Obviously, with sympathy, the person is acknowledging your suffering, hearing you out, and they're understanding what you're explaining to them and processing that information, not firsthand, not with firsthand knowledge, but understanding it from what you're saying. Whereas if the person meets you with empathy, then they're really taking that emotion on board and meeting your emotions with their emotions, and it's as if they're literally living it in a sense. And is that necessarily what you want out of this conversation? Do you want it to be a case of somebody keep circling the conversation back on them and comparing your experience with their experience? And of course, they're probably doing this without realizing it. They're just wanting you to feel less alone and to be more at ease. But of course, that's quite tricky when you try to tell someone something like having dermatillomania. You don't necessarily want somebody to keep taking the focus off your suffering to focus more on their suffering. Of course, there's always a time and place to talk about their suffering, but this conversation is for you. It's for you to grow. It's for you to get to where you need to be. Now, the last one is, how do they usually handle difficult situations and conversations? Do they go into what I like to think my dad has, fix it mode, where they instantly think, okay, this is a problem, I need to fix it, there needs to be a solution, we are going to go do this, da 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 da. And if so, is that what you want? Are they going to completely freak out and close the conversation down or leave the room because they're just not ready to hear you out, and this, even though it's actually got nothing to do with them? Are they going to shrug the whole thing off completely and make you feel really small and insignificant and definitely feel unsupported? Also, if this conversation doesn't go well, if the outcome is not what you expected or they reacted in a different way to what you expected, then is that going to stop you from having this conversation with anybody else? It's definitely something to consider as well, because ultimately it's about you feeling more comfortable within yourself and embracing yourself, understanding yourself, and just kind of living a more compassionate and patient life within yourself. So you don't really want to speak to someone who's going to make you feel really put off talking about it again. And if that does happen, please understand that that's got everything to do with them and it's not got anything to do with you. It speaks so much more about them than you. And not everybody reacts in the same way. I've talked to so many people now about my dermatillomania, and it's been, a lot of confusion, or I've had some shrug offs. I've had, some people, even my dad, for example, he used to say things in passing when I was younger, where it's like, stop picking your chest, boys aren't going to fancy you if you do that. And then when I told him a few years later, he was like, oh yeah, I have that. And I was like, huh? What? So matter of fact, like, but I did not expect that. But then there's also, you know, getting to know people, already known people, and when you talk to them about it, they're like, oh my God, I have that. I had no idea that was a thing, and being able to bond over that, which is amazing. And so it can be really interesting. See it more as like a social experiment and just using this as like a guinea pig experience and not taking it personally, because ultimately if somebody reacts negatively about this, then you have to understand that has everything to do with them and their ego, and it has nothing to do with you. So please don't feel put off or, you know, so disappointed that you never want to talk about it or be open with anybody ever again, because you deserve to feel comforted and supported and knowing how you want to go about this. And honestly, the best thing I ever did for myself was decided to be open about my struggle with dermatillomania. I recommend it to you if you are struggling in silence. Now, I hope these tips were helpful and useful to you. Please let me know in the comment section below if you have any more questions that you'd like to add. For anybody that stumbles on this video, I've been thinking about talking about it and never really thought about questions like this. And once again, thank you so much for checking this video out. I hope you have a great day. Speak soon. Bye.